Why do you think that the UN Secretary General has talked about all occupied territory? And I think he includes most of the world, includes Jerusalem. And do you agree that this is the worst crisis between the United States and Israel for 35 years?
I think that's overstated. I do not think this is the worst crisis between Israel and the U.S.
We have
serving ambassador paramount interests.
It's a current serving ambassador who said
Well, he actually...
Go ahead.
The serving ambassador, Michael Oren, actually retreated from that position and now says he never actually said that. And in fact, there have been differences before. You know, there were differences when Israel eliminated the nuclear reactor of Saddam Hussein in 1981. We had a very hard crisis with the Reagan administration. Within 2 years, we reestablished strategic cooperation, became virtual allies. We had differences with between Bush the father and Yitzhak Shamir was prime minister on the issue of settlement activity. Well, within 2 years of those differences, we were cooperating against the problem of Saddam Hussein during the invasion of Kuwait and the first Gulf War. So
okay, well,
we've had differences with the
spat?
U.S. on some of these issues.
What caused the current spat?
What caused?
And it appeared. No, I'm sorry. I'm going to explain that. Yeah, Mr. Biden arrived, and what I think was missed by a lot of coverage is that it was the Shas party in the current coalition, a very religious party, which blindsided your prime minister by announcing this, probably deliberately, in order to wreck the visit by Biden and any hopes of peace. Now, doesn't that reflect on just how weak the Israeli government is if it can be blindsided by a small minority religious party?
Well, let's put this in perspective. This was a low-level zoning decision of a zoning board in the local government of Jerusalem.
This was not a
decision of the Minister of the Interior.
Yes, but what in most countries is for the local mayor is an international incident.
Yes, but the Prime Minister of Israel, Mr. Netanyahu, explained to Vice President Biden the unfortunate timing of this local decision, the fact that he didn't know about it, and Vice President Biden seemed to accept that. And that was, in fact, the kind of environment that existed when Mr. Biden left Israel. Unfortunately, this thing mushroomed into a very large crisis with recriminations going back and forth across the Atlantic, not much different than past disagreements. But the U.S. and Israel are allies. And the only one who will benefit from U.S.-Israeli differences today is President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad of Iran. I mean, imagine prior to the outbreak of World War II, President Roosevelt and Prime Minister Churchill having a disagreement about something going on in India or in the Far East. Well, it's totally not beneficial under the present circumstances we're facing.
We've talked about that many times. We're here to talk about pretty much Jerusalem at the moment and the internal situation. We've talked about Iran many times. You talked about law earlier. Why can't the law be changed so that Palestinians can actually build in West Jerusalem? Because at the moment you talk about, well, anybody can build anywhere in Jerusalem, and you use that as some would say, the excuse for Jews to build in East Jerusalem, which historically has been an Arab Muslim area. But you can't build in West Jerusalem unless you're a citizen of Israel, and of course a lot of the Palestinians aren't. So de facto, you are barring them through law.
Well, that's not precise. There are a number of problems in your question. First of all, the Jews have had a majority in Jerusalem since 1863.
But that's not the debate. The debate is who can build where legally. Who can build where legally? And on the one hand, you say anybody can, but when it comes down to the actual detail, people can't build in West Jerusalem unless they're citizens.
Well, let me explain to you. First of all, we have Palestinian Arabs living in Jewish neighborhoods and vice versa, because Jerusalem is a mosaic of peoples. It isn't just Arab or just Jerusalem or just Jewish. You know, you look at the map from far away in Europe or the United States and you think East Jerusalem is an Arab neighborhood, is an Arab part of the city. West Jerusalem is a Jewish part. We're mixed, and we have to entitle both Arabs and Jews to build freely where they have title to property and where they have a building license.
Yeah, but it's mixed. It's mixed, Mr. Gold, because you've mixed it. Because if you take the Ramat Shlomo settlement or area, if you call it, in East Jerusalem, which is now Jewish, well, 20 years ago it wasn't.
It was a barren hill where we had Jewish land ownership, and in 1995, at the height of the Oslo agreements, when Prime Minister Rabin was Prime Minister and President Bill Clinton was President of the United States, Israel decided to build housing for the Jewish population that needed housing in that area. But there's also housing being built for Arabs. You know that in 1967, In Jerusalem, it was 75% Jewish and 25% Palestinian. Today, it's about 35% Palestinian. We're not trying to squeeze out the Palestinians. They have rights to build. They apply for building licenses. They build. Their contractors are building housing for the Palestinian sector, and we need to build housing for the Jewish sector. Both are entitled to build for the needs of their people.
Dore Gold, next time we'll both come armed with the legality, and I look forward to that, and this one will run and run.